Hello. All right. Hello, everyone. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to ERA's Season 1. Today it's round 7, and we arrive at the Portimao track at Portugal. So, last time out, it was sadly not streamed because I had Corona 19. Corona 19. I had Corona and I couldn't commentate because I had a sore throat. But we're back again for round 7 for Portugal. And last one, I'm sure it's an exciting one. I wasn't there. But this one is definitely going to be exciting, I can assure you that. So let's have a quick look at the standings. after round 6, which was USA. And in the lead, we still have literally Siggins, who's on 90 points, but he lost his 100% podium rate at the USA. Still has 4 podiums out of, I think, 5 rounds. So he's obviously in the championship lead and has, even without, even on the days he hasn't got podiums, he's still come quite high up. Chronic is actually right behind him now in P2 with 75 points, so he's 15 points behind after winning his first race in the USA. And behind him, Samuel Beach, who was second place, but obviously Chronic stole away from him. And then Samuel Beach is now in third place with 69 points. Paco is in fourth place with 68 points. And Dexy is in fifth with 60 points. So he's 30 points behind, and he's not coming to this week's Grand Prix. So it's going to be hard for him to fight his way back into this championship battle, but I'm sure he can. So enough about the standings. We're going to move on to the racing now. Well, first we need to do our qualifying and see who can set the fastest time to get themselves in the highest position for this Grand Prix. So it's a wet qualifying today, so the drivers are definitely going to struggle in these conditions, as Zayak has already invalidated his lap time. We're now going to ride on board with literally Siggins, the championship leader, and let's see what he can do in these wet conditions. So let's see, through these corners he gets a bit of wheel spin coming off at turn 3 there into turn 4, a very tricky corner, and the rain just making it even more difficult. He sets purple sector 1 and is the first person to set a sector 1 time. Into the turn 5 hairpin, as you can see, gets a bit of wheel spin there, so really struggling with the traction in the wet. And before the race he actually told me that he decided to turn off some of the assists for this race, so he's definitely going to struggle a bit more, because I think one of the assists that he's turned off is the traction control, and that's probably why he's getting so much wheel spin in these conditions. But he seems to be doing alright, apart from on the exit of a couple corners, really understeery in these intermediate conditions. He sets the purple sector 2 because he's the first person to set a sector 2, and he's going to be the first person to set a lap time, but obviously this is a pretty shabby lap with a lot of wheel spin out of almost every corner, and this one is no exception. But we're going to have to see what kind of time he can do across the line in these wet conditions. I'm not sure what kind of times will be done in these wet conditions, because I don't think I've ever raced in Portugal in the wet, but he is the first man to set time. It's a 1:30.1, and Chronic absolutely smashes that with a 1:26.6, and it looked like 3 other drivers crossed the line there. One in the Alpine, I think it was, so that would be Cyborg. He invalidated his lap time, and so did the McLaren of Samuel Beach. And you can see even Chronic on his in-lap is struggling with a bit of wheel spin. Someone spun there. I think that's Cyborg on his in-lap after invalidating his first lap, or maybe he was going for another lap after invalidating his first one. But he has spun at turn 4, a very tricky corner, and now he's just letting some cars through. So let's try and find someone else who is on a lap. It looks like Paco was on a lap, but he's actually invalidated there, as you can see in the bottom right hand corner. When the minimap goes completely red, it means they've invalidated their lap time. But I also forgot to mention Imposter set a lap time of a 1:27.3, so he is 7/10 off of Chronic's best time. You can actually get the gap up here. So there you go, there are the gaps. Imposter is 7/10 off of Chronic, and Literally Siggins is 3.5 seconds off, so Literally Siggins definitely has some time to find. But obviously when you turn off an assist... Oh, and actually, as we ride on board with Paco there, he has a bit of a moment there at turn 4. Once again, I think we're going to see a lot of drivers struggle at that turn, especially in these wet conditions, because it's so hard to get on the power if you're playing the traction control off. And that's probably why Literally Siggins is struggling so much, especially at that turn, although he did manage to take it quite nicely. So yeah, obviously when you turn off the assist, you're going to struggle to find the pace but once you get used to the assist, you will be a lot faster. So we might see a boost in pace from literally Siggins in the later rounds once he gets used to his assist. But moving away from that, Paco having some difficulties on his lap, and he's spun twice now, and I think he's going to come into the pit lane for a new set of tyres because this lap is completely gone, and these tyres are probably completely cooked. But Samuel Beach has now set the fastest lap of the qualifying session. It's a 26 flat, and Chronic has improved his time, and now he is just 4/100ths off with a 26.1. And K Zamos is not new to this league. It's just Techno God changed his username to Zamos, so I guess I'm going to call him Zamos from now on. But he is still a Red Bull full-time driver in this league, as he has been for, I think, since the very start of the season, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he's one of the OG drivers, I guess you could say. But let's look at who is on a lap currently, and it looks like one of the reserves for this race in the AlphaTauri is on his lap right now. Let's see what kind of time he can do. It actually looks like it's stopped raining, so we might see a bit of a dry line start to emerge here, as it actually looks like Hulks. I'm just going to call him H. It looks like H is actually on his in lap there, as he's in 7th gear in the last corner, or the second last corner I should say, not really trying to push the limits too hard there. So as you can see, a lot of people haven't actually set a lap time yet, because I guess they were struggling with spinning and track limits, because this track is also difficult for not only traction out of a lot of the corners, but track limits as well. And when you throw rain in there, it gets even more difficult. But now we actually see Chronic. He hasn't come out of the pit lane yet, but he has switched to the soft tires, as you can see, because it tells you what the driver is thinking about going on, and he's obviously thinking about going on to the softs. So I think he's just checking the delta between the tires, and it looks like the dry compound tires are going to start to come into play in this mid stage of the qualifying session, and the track is probably going to be at its best at the very end of the session once the dry line has fully emerged. But if these drivers don't start to go out, the dry line won't ever emerge. But it looks like Tech-Ass is trying to get in a lap on these intermediate tires, but he has invalidated once again. Imposter invalidated. He's going to come into the pit lane along with Tech-Ass, and as you can see, they can tell to stop raining, and they know to come into the pit lane for a new set of tires. But it actually looks like K1Zar and Paco, I think he's just come out of the pit lane there on the intermediate compounded tires, so he hasn't got a banker time, and I guess he just wants to get one in, because who knows, maybe these conditions won't actually ramp up in time, and maybe the track won't be dry enough for softs at the end of the session. So he's going to go out on the intermediate tires to actually create the dry line for the other drivers to go out on the softs. And as you can see, all the drivers who were thinking about going on softs have now changed back to the intermediate compounded tires. So we're going to ride on board here with Paco, who is on his out lap now, and he's going to be looking to set his first banker time of the session. And it looks like a lot of other drivers have actually come out of the pit lane to start their first, well, what is going to be their first lap, because a lot of drivers have struggled to actually get a lap time in. And it looks like Cyborg's actually spun at turn 4 in these tricky conditions. But here we go now with Paco, who's about to round out the final corner, and he's going to start this lap. And yes, this is a short qualifying session for you, those of you who don't know, because obviously we have quite a late starting time, 8:30 on a Tuesday night, so we like to keep it at a short qualifying. But here we go now with Paco into turn 1 and 2. He's gone wide, but it actually hasn't invalidated his lap time, so the lap isn't completely over. He's gone wide, and that's definitely going to lose some time. So DRS has now been enabled, which shows you that the the dry tires are going to come into play soon enough, as Paco sits a purple sector 1, so even going wide at turn 1 and turn 4, he's still got a purple sector 1, so you can tell the drivers. Samuel Beach, who set the fast lap of the session, was struggling at the earlier stages, but I think it's the fact that the track is slowly getting drier, that these intermediates have now gotten faster, and the soft tyres are going to start to come into play soon. Or possibly the medium. Some people might decide to go onto the medium tyre and see what kind of lap time they can do. But continuing on with Paco here, he set the purple sector 1, he set a purple sector 2, and let's see what he can do in this final sector of his lap, coming into the final 2 corners now. Can he get nice and early on the power and get the best exit possible? Looks like a bit of a wider line than he might have preferred there, but still a decent exit. Coming into the final turn, flat out through here. Even in these wet conditions, he actually has to do a lift there at the end, and thankfully, even going wide 3 times this lap, he doesn't invalidate his lap, and that's going to put him P3 with a 26.9, 9/10 off of Samuel Beach. So Samuel Beach got a very nice lap time in at the start of the session, but it looks like that might not matter now, because the track is coming back to the dry tyres, and the first person to go on the dry tyres is, there's a couple of drivers on intermediates doing their laps now, but Tekas has actually decided it's time for dry tyres, so let's see what he can do on these medium tyres, coming to through turn 3 and now turn 4, and it looks like he gets a pretty good turn 4 there, and definitely a difficult turn to take, as it actually looks like Colt H has retired from the session. It looks like he's spun in the second sector, and Tekas has also spun, and he's lost his wheel. He got a bit too early on the power there, but in these wet questionable, weird conditions on his his dry compound tires, he got on the power a bit too early, and that has sent him into the barrier and out of the session. And to answer your question, Coulter, no, you can't join after the quali because that glitches the lobby. But moving on, Tekas and H are the first 2 people to retire who are struggling in these conditions, but it looks like Imposter is now on the soft tires. He set the fastest sector 1 coming into turn 5. Let's see, how does he get on the power? It looks like pretty nicely, so he's not going to spin at the same turn as Tekas, and he looks like he's going to be the first person on dry tires to set a lap time, as a bit of a drift through there, through turn 7 if I'm not mistaken, no, turn 6. A bit of a drift through turn 6, but into turn 8 now. I'm really not too familiar with the turn numbers, so I'm just guessing at this point, but he sets a purple sector 2, so the dry tires are obviously the tires to be on, and you can see the track is bone dry at this point, so it's the perfect time. But there's only 4 minutes left, so I think drivers might actually hold off for a little bit and wait for the track evolution, what little track evolution they can get, because I don't think they're going to be getting 2 laps in at this point. And Imposter actually abandons his lap there, so maybe not the fastest lap from him. He decides to come into the pit lane, and maybe he'll be waiting for the track evolution too. So he's going to come into the pit lane. So the only other person who's actually on his outlap now is Zayek, who's on his outlap and is going to be the first person to set a time on the dry compounded tires. So let's see what he can do, because most of the other drivers are actually still in the pit lane and waiting for the track to maybe get even better, even though the track is bone dry. Maybe they're waiting for people like Zayek and Cyborg to just ramp up the track, get it as warm as possible so that they can have the most grip on their flying lap. But K1Zar is now coming out of the pit lane along with a few others. I think that's one of the Red Bulls, one of the Ferraris, Samuel Beach, and literally Siggins as well. So a lot of people coming out of the pit lane. But Zayek is going to be the first person to come out of the pit lane and set his lap on soft tires. So let's see what he can do coming into this final corner, about to start his lap. And let's see what kind of first, second and third sector he can get, and what kind of lap he can put together as the first soft compound tire runner to go out for his lap. So as you can see, into turn 1, not really using the outside curb to maximize and carry as much speed as you can into the first turn. Into turn 3 and now 4. What can he do into turn 4? Very difficult corner, and he manages not to invalidate it and sets a purple sector 1. So not the best first sector, but still a purple sector 1, because he is the only person who's about to set his lap on the dry compounded tires. And into sector 2 now, turn 7, this very tricky uphill right-hander, taking that quite nicely. Not the worst exit, no wheel spin actually, so he might be playing with traction control on, or maybe he just got a great exit. A very tight line into this turn 10, I'm guessing. Turn 10, turn 11, this might be turn 12. I'm trying to keep track of the turns. I think there's maybe 14 turns to this track, so let's call this 13. And into 14, what kind of lap is he putting together at this stage of the qualifying session? Because this is going to be most likely his last lap of the session. So across the line, it's going to be the time to beat. It does not look like the best time. It's a 1:20.4. That's only 6 seconds faster than what Samuel Beach managed on the intermediate compound of tyres. So definitely not the best lap from Zayek, who actually gets up a bit on the sausage curve on his in lap and spins the car around. So let's ride on board with your championship leader, shall we? Literally Siggins, who is currently on a lap in the second sector and up into this tricky uphill right-hander. Looks like he's already adjusting to this no traction control and not getting a lot of wheel spin out of the turns. Out of this turn, no wheel spin at all, so looks like he's managing it quite nicely at this stage of the session. And K1's actually goes second fastest with a 1:20.8. Literally Siggins getting a bit of dirty air from Zamos, who looks like he's struggling on those medium compounded tires. And it looks like literally Siggins actually gets too much on the curb, and that's going to invalidate his lap time. But he has one more chance to go for a lap, so he's going to have to take it. But he can't, because he's invalidated this lap from invalidating on the last corner. So that looks like literally Siggins is not going to be able to get a time in. He got a bit too aggressive on the final corner, just took too much curb, and it looks like Chronic is going to set a 17.2. That is a pretty decent lap time when you've been running in the rain for most of the session. So 17.2, that puts him 6/10 ahead of one of his championship rivals, Paco. And Samuel Beach also set a time of an 18.3. That's going to put him P3 for now. Let's see who else is on a lap time. Literally Siggins has invalidated, K1sar has invalidated. Elian Bayan, a new full-time driver to this league, who's going to be driving in Haas alongside Dexy, and he's on these medium compounded tyres. And if he gets a decent lap in, he could really take advantage of this, because most drivers haven't gotten a proper lap in apart from the top 4. So let's see what Elian can do coming out of this final turn and across the line on these medium compounded tyres. It's going to be a 1:17.6, which puts him P3, but then he gets demoted to P4 after Imposter, one of the reserves, has actually set a 1:17.4, just 4/100ths off of his Ferrari teammate on those soft compound tyres. So we're going to have to see how that actually all ended up, and what the starting grid for today's race is going to be. So Chronic, someone looking to get into the championship battle, just 15 points behind literally Siggins. He is going to take pole position by a 10th over one of his championship rivals, Paco, who sets a 1:17.4. One of the reserves in this league, who sets a very impressive time of a 17.4. He's going to take P3 in this session. Samuel Beach takes P4 with a 17.6. He actually improved there at the end of the session. Elian on the medium compound tyres is starting P5 in this race with a 17.6. That's a great time from him. Zayek, K1sar, literally Siggins, and Zamos couldn't get a proper time in, and they're going to be starting P6, 7, and 8. Hulks, H, Tekas, and Cyborg all either retired or just couldn't get a lap in. I know H and Tekas retired, but Cyborg was really struggling and just couldn't get a lap in. So it's a very interesting grid for today, and I think Elian is definitely going to be one to watch starting on those medium compounded tyres. That's really going to help him in the later stage of the race, because the difference between the mediums and the softs is absolutely massive. So if he can hang on to the DRS of the top 4, he's going to have a great chance in this race. We'll have to see how it all unfolds as the race is about to begin shortly. So strategy-wise, I think most of the drivers will be looking to go either soft-medium or medium-soft. as the drivers who couldn't get a proper lap in, such as literally Siggins and I think Samos, couldn't get a lap in. Yeah, literally Siggins and Samos, they could only get a lap in on intermediate, so they will have the choice of starting on the medium compounded tires. And let's see if they took that opportunity, and it looks like they actually haven't. The only person who's taken the opportunity to go onto the mediums is Tekas, and obviously Elian, who qualified on the mediums, as literally Siggins is almost instantly disqualified from the formation lap. And the predicted strategy is actually a two-stop for this race, which I haven't seen before, because usually the game predicts a one-stop, but today it looks like it thinks the tire wear might be a bit higher. Maybe it's a hotter day, who knows, we'll have to see. But I think a lot of the drivers will be looking to go for the one stop in this race, as I think it's definitely the faster strategy. But who knows, maybe there was an update that increased tire wear at certain tracks, because I'm seeing a lot more often that the game actually recommends a two stop for a lot of tracks where the one stop from soft to medium is usually possible. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what strategy these drivers go with. But let's have a quick last look at the grid. So most people starting on soft tires. That includes Chronic, who starts on pole position with, well, the driver who he's usually been battling with for these past few races, Paco. It looks like Chronic and Paco have really been dominating ever since they joined. I think Chronic in his first one or two races struggled a bit, but as soon as Paco joined, him and Chronic have both really been battling it out for the win in most cases. And it actually looked like the predicted pit stop strategy changed there to soft hards. So it's going to be interesting to see what Elian and Tekas do on those mediums, if they can stretch them long enough to go onto softs, or if they're going to use the hard compound tires, which would definitely lose them a lot of pace, so I don't think they will. But most of the other drivers, we'll have to see if they go for soft medium or soft hard. It's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, as I was saying, Chronic and Paco have usually been battling it out for the win in the past few races, with Samuel Beach and literally Siggins and also Dexy making a few appearances in the top three. But it looks like the reserve of Imposter is starting on P3, and also Elian on the mediums in P5, so those two will be ones to watch. But we have 5 red lights. They're gone and we're away. Let's see what kind of a start it was for Chronic, and it actually looks like a good start for Chronic and a good start for Imposter. Is he going to be looking to go around the outside into turn 1? No, he's not. He's going to have to hold his breath for now, but he actually goes down the inside into turn 3 of Paco, and it looks like Paco is going to have the inside line for turn 4, but Imposter is going to move himself past his Ferrari teammate and up into P2, but Paco isn't going down without a fight. He's going to try to go around the outside into this hairpin, but it looks like he goes for the switchback. Samuel Beach trying to get involved in this battle, but it looks like Imposter has now gained P2 in this race, and that's a great start for his debut race as a reserve in this league. And I'm sure he'll be happy with that start. Now it's just about maintaining the pace and trying to stay in the DRS of Chronic ahead of him, as K1zar already gets a 3-second time penalty. And it actually looks like the reserve of H has spun at that tricky turn 7, that uphill right-hander. Definitely a tricky one to negotiate, and he spun, and that's not a great start from him and his first race. But we'll have to see if he can make a recovery. If there's a safety car in this race, that would definitely help him out. But let's focus on the top guys here. So the only positions that have changed in the top 5 is Imposter has moved up to P2 in this race, with Chronic maintaining the league and Paco losing one of the positions off the start from the front row. So not a great start from him. Samuel Beach is right behind him, and Elian on those medium compound tires struggling to stay within the 1 second gap. But I can't blame him, because the difference between the mediums and softs is really, really big, and the pace difference is massive. So if he can actually get into the DRS of Samuel Beach, it's going to be absolutely massive for his race, and it looks like he actually does. If he can hold this until lap 3, he is going to be looking good for possibly a race win. Literally, Siggins has moved himself up to P6 in this race, with Zamos right behind him in P7. Zayak has really fallen down to P8, with H losing a couple of, well, actually gaining a couple of positions even though he spun, but he's quite a bit behind the rest of the drivers. Cyborg gained a few positions off of the start, and Tekas and K1 Sire, I think they both got wing damage off the start and had to box for fresh tyres. So it actually looks like Tekas has spun at turn 4, so he's been really unlucky basically this entire season with either spins by himself or colliding with other drivers or penalties or all these other things. It looks like he struggles with the consistency on this game, but it looks like Imposter is going to go around the outside of Chronic. He has to back out of it because he does not have the grip for that, but Imposter really showing us all what he's made of in his first race in ERAs. He's challenging for the race win here in Portugal, and these two battling is going to help out Elian. He's 1.2 seconds behind now. He missed out on the DRS on that last straight coming out of turn 4, but maybe he can catch up here. He's on the teetering edge of DRS. He's going to need a good second and third sector if he wants to catch up to the DRS and really make this strategy work, but we'll have to see how that gap evolves. And I'm really surprised Imposter in his first race putting pressure on the race leader and the championship rival of Chronic, and this is so far a pretty good race from Imposter, but we're only 3 laps in. It's a bit too early to judge, as there could be spins, crashes, whatever. Maybe he messes up on the strategy, but right now for pace he's looking pretty good, and he's also quite a patient driver in the way that he actually waits for the perfect time to make a move instead of just going for a move straight away. He waits, as Elian actually sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix of a 19.9, and he is almost in the DRS of the drivers ahead of him. I assume he would have caught up to the DRS there with that fastest lap of the Grand Prix, but Samuel Beach is just so close to the back of Paco, as it looks like Elian might have gotten the DRS on this straight. He's really, the gap is really fluctuating, and as you can see, his DRS was actually open, so he's got great pace in this race, and literally Siggins is struggling to keep up with him on those soft compound tires, so that really shows what kind of pace Elian has at this stage of the Grand Prix. Samuel Beach is getting nice and close to the back of Paco here, and might be looking for a move soon enough, as Tekas actually sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix on fresh medium tires, but he's quite far behind the rest of the drivers. He's 27 seconds behind Cyborg, who's 5 seconds behind H, as it actually looks like there might have been contact there, as it looks like H lost his wing, and I think that was an incident with Zamos, or maybe, no, it wasn't, it was an incident with Zayek there, so I'm not too sure what actually happened, but that's definitely a shame to see from H, who's not having a best first race. Who's not having a best first race in this in his debut race. Anywho, moving back to the front of the grid, Cyborg has actually moved up to P8, which is interesting to see. Samuel Beach getting quite close to the back of Paco there, and had a little look down the inside, but wasn't close enough to go for that late lunge. But he gets a good exit coming off of that turn 5 hairpin, and is really all over the back of Paco, and this is helping out Elian massively, who's just 3 tenths behind, 2 tenths behind Samuel Beach. This is absolutely massive for Elian. I'm sure he's going to be challenging for the win, because the difference between the softs and the mediums is absolutely massive, as you saw at the start of the Grand Prix. So his pace compared to these guys is going to be, it's going to be something else, and I'm sure he's going to breeze past these guys so long as he plays his cards right. But right now it doesn't look like too many people going for overtakes here, but Samuel Beach is definitely getting very feisty, and I think he's going to be looking for a move soon enough. He probably has more pace than Paco ahead of him, and that's why he's getting so close. But he's 4 tenths behind coming onto this DRS straight, but I don't think he's going to be close enough into turn 1. Imposter's red light is actually flashing, so he is below 10% ERS. He's been pushing really hard, as it looks like he's actually spun. I'm not sure what's happened here. He must have spun at turn 1 and reset the track lightning quick. I'm not sure what happened, but like, he was on track as soon as he was off it. So he's back on track, and we might have to look into that rule, because sometimes you can reset the track when you're about to crash into a wall and retire from the session. And if you get used to it, if you practice it enough, before you actually hit the wall, you can just reset the track very, very quickly. So he's fallen down to P6. He was looking so good in this race, but he was pushing so hard, as you can see from the amount of ERS he has. He's using it on every single straight almost, and that's probably why he doesn't have that much and was struggling to defend from Paco. But he's now down in P6, and he's got a lot to do in this race. It's going to be very hard for him to catch up to the top guys, as there's a 4.4 second gap between literally Siggins and Elian. But moving back to these top guys, it looks like Elian was actually using a bit of ERS there, and he's still using the ERS, so he really is trying to keep up with Samuel Beach. Just fair enough, he really needs this DRS, as Imposter actually pits, so I don't know if he's gotten wing damage there or what's happened, or if he's going for the 2-stop, but he's coming to the pit lane. We can check now, as it's no front wing change, so he might be going for the 2-stop in this race. So definitely an interesting strategy from Imposter. But moving back to the top 4 now, you can see it looks like Elian has a great line through that turn 5, and that really gains him a lot of time on Samuel Beach, and this is probably why he's able to stick so closely and in the DRS, and this is probably helping him a lot in this Grand Prix, because like I said, at the end of the Grand Prix, he's going to be lightning quick compared to these guys. Paco is really struggling to keep in the DRS of Chronic, and he's just 7/10 behind now. He looks like he's got the gap back down to just 8/10, as it was almost a second back in the second sector. So he's struggling a bit to keep up with Chronic ahead of him, and it looks like he's used quite a bit of the ERS. He's down to just 40%, and he hasn't really looked for any moves on, well, Imposter was ahead of him, but will he be looking for a move now on Chronic, who does not have the DRS? We'll have to see. Into turn 1, he gets very close to him, and off of that turn 1, it actually looked like he went a bit wide there. Could have got a warning from that, so he needs to be careful now if he doesn't want to get a 3-second time penalty, which would heavily compromise his race. It looks like Samuel Beach is getting quite close to Paco, who really, even with the DRS, can't seem to get close enough to Chronic. So Chronic's really got some great pace around here at Portugal, even though, no, he did get pole position, and so it really does show that he has got the pace at this track. And you can see Samuel Beach is 2/10 behind Paco. He's really close to him. He's able to follow quite nicely in the second sector, and he takes a nice line into that turn. He favors the exit of the entry, which is what you want to be doing for every turn, really. And that turn definitely has a lot of mixed lines, but he obviously has the right one to go for a good exit. And Samuel Beach almost has 100% ERS, so even though he's almost been overtaking Paco a lot at turn 5 especially, he's still got 80% ERS now, so he's used 20. He's using a bit of the overtake. It looks like he's going to be going for the move into turn 1. No, he's not. He's just going to duck back into the slipstream, with Elian struggling to keep in the DRS. But now it looks like he's going to be going for a move into turn 3, and he leaves enough space for Paco into this turn 4. It's very tricky to go side by side, but they're able to manage it, and it looks like Samuel Beach is not being too aggressive here. Really did not want to use the ERS off of the exit of turn 4, even though he probably could have made the move on Paco there if he had gone a little more aggressive and moved himself up to P2, which is the position you always want to be in. You always want to be the second man in the DRS train, and that squabbling has actually allowed Elian to catch up into P4 now on his medium compound tires. So Elian still doing really well behind, not going for any moves. He obviously doesn't want to play it too aggressive because he's on those mediums. He's mainly looking to the end of the Grand Prix where he's going to be strong. So Samuel Beach still has about 80% ERS here, and should be looking for a move on Paco quite soon. As it actually looks like Paco had a pretty decent third sector and has pulled away a little bit, but it looks like Chronic obviously has some great pace compared to these guys, because he's been able to maintain that 7/10 gap to Paco for basically this entire race, all 10 laps, and he's still on 40% ERS. So he's managing the ERS well, he's managing his gap well, and honestly, he's just leading this race perfectly. So you can tell he's obviously been in this position before, and not only in this league, but most likely in other leagues too. So he's doing pretty decent for himself in this race, and keeping the gap over 5 tenths to Paco behind for almost the entire race. Well, it was imposter for a little bit, but obviously he spun and changed up the strategy now, because he's on the mediums very, very early. I think he boxed on lap 7 for those medium compound tires, so switching up the strategy to maybe make his race work after that spin, which has definitely compromised him. So it looks like not too much action at this stage of the race with these 4 drivers, the main drivers who are battling on track, as most of the other drivers have a pretty big gap to each other. The closest drivers after this DRS train is Zamos to literally Siggins, which is a 3.4 second gap. So I think this is where we're going to see the majority of the battles. But it looks like both drivers just settling into the position they're in. Chronic maintaining his lead and managing this race quite nicely. Paco being the second man in the DRS train, the best position to be. Elian on those mediums, just trying to stay in the DRS of Samuel Beach. And I think the only person who doesn't want to be in their position is probably Samuel Beach, because he's the third man in the DRS train and he's on soft compound tires. I think he could definitely do with moving up a position and overtaking Paco. But at this stage of the Grand Prix, it doesn't matter too heavily. It will mainly matter towards the end of the Grand Prix. So track position for these guys, clearly they don't care that much, and they're just trying to stay in this DRS train and keep up with everyone else, and probably start pushing nice and hard towards the end of the Grand Prix. So it looks like Samuel Beach once again is getting quite close to the back of Paco, who's actually outside the 1 second gap. The detection point is coming up on this last turn. It looks like he has to use the ERS there to just about get back within the DRS of Chronic. So Paco really struggling for pace, and as you can see, his tires must have been dead, because he pulls into the pit lane and is going to put on a set of medium compound tires, well, I assume he is. And yeah, it looks like he's really struggling there on those soft tires. You can tell, because he was losing a lot of time to Chronic, and that, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's a pretty early stage to actually box for the mediums, because now he has to take those tires 21 laps, and if he could only take the softs 10 laps, his tire wear is going to be really bad at the end of the Grand Prix. But we'll have to see if he can make it work, as Samuel Beach is now actually struggling to keep within the DRS of Chronic ahead of him. So Chronic, I think he might be pushing a little bit to try and break the DRS. As you can see, he's actually below 10% ERS, so he's definitely pushing a bit to break this DRS, and it's obviously working, because the gap is now 1.3 seconds to Samuel Beach behind. So this nice little push lap is going to break the DRS to Samuel Beach, and he's not going to have to push as hard to keep Samuel Beach behind. The gap is 1.1 seconds. Samuel Beach is pushing to try and catch up, but it actually looks like Chronic has just given it his all, because it was his in lap, and he's now going to box for medium, so he's actually reacting to Paco. So maybe this is the time that you usually box around Portimao. Like I said, I don't know too much about the strategy, haven't done too many races here, but Chronic is now down into P3, and literally Siggins is going to take these tires maybe a few more laps, as he's now got 12 lap old softs, and Elian Bayan is now in the lead of the Grand Prix on those medium tires. We're going to have to see how long he takes them into this race. Is he going to go for an early stop, or is he going to go at well, not the same time as these guys, but is he going to take the softs the same amount of time as these guys? And if he does, he'd probably be boxing around lap 22 to go 11 laps on the soft tires. So it's definitely going to be a bit of a struggle for tyre wear. But as you can see, coming out the pit lane, Paco, even with the undercut, is 2.1 seconds behind Samuel, or not Samuel Beach, Chronic. So as it actually looks like, is that a lap car, or has Zayek just disconnected? It looks like Zayek has actually disconnected. No, it looks like he's paused the game, which is interesting to see. I don't know why he's paused at this stage. Maybe he has to go do something. But yeah, it's now between Samuel Beach and Paco. But the good thing for Samuel Beach is this lap car is going to give him the DRS, even though he's outside the DRS of Paco. But it actually looks like he's overtaken the lap car before the detection point, so he might not get the DRS. So let's see here. No, he doesn't get the DRS on Zayek. So it looks like a lot of the drivers really struggling for pace as Zayek gets the DRS on Samuel Beach there. So yeah, it looks like the gaps have really evolved. Chronic really showing his pace, and obviously Paco was struggling for pace, but I think that undercut has really helped him out against Samuel Beach, who is now outside of the DRS of Paco ahead of him. So a pit stop around here is usually 23 seconds, if I had to guess. So right now, if Elian boxed, he would be 2 seconds behind Chronic, so he needs to keep a decent gap to Chronic behind, and also Paco, because if he boxed now, he'd probably come out somewhere close to ahead of Paco. So Elian's doing really well in the lead of this race, but Chronic is definitely gaining a couple of tenths a lap, as he should be on those fresh medium compound tires. And this is going to be a close one between Elian and Chronic, because I really don't know how much pace Elian is going to have on those soft tires compared to Chronic's medium tires, which will be quite old when Elian actually boxes. But I know from experience, I've raced Elian a few times before. He's won races, and he also won a championship recently in another league. So he's coming off of a pretty big high from one of those seasons. But it actually looks like the safety car has come out, and this has completely ruined Elian's race, because now he's going to have to box most likely for the hard tires, and he's going to have no pace compared to Chronic. But the only difference is he is going to have the track position, although that's just what I would do. I would box for the hards, but because if he boxes for the softs, he will not make it to the end of the Grand Prix, as 18 laps on the softs, you'll most likely get a puncture. And on the hards, you're not going to have as much pace, but at least they'll make it to the end. And if he decides to stay out on the mediums, well, he'll have to make an extra stop, and will come out 20 seconds behind Chronic. So this safety car has really ruined Elian's race. Well, not completely ruined, because he is going to go onto the hards now. He's going to have track position, but he's not going to have a lot of pace. We'll have to see how that plays out. But this has helped out Paco, it's helped out Samuel Beach, it's also helped out Imposter, who's now going to get a free pit stop on the safety car, and this could pull him back into the battle for the race win, as he started on soft, so he can go on to a new set of medium compound tires, and that's definitely going to help him out in this race as he pulls into pit lane. Paco decides to pit. What tires is he going to go on to? This is going to be interesting to see. He goes on to a set of medium compound tires, so even though his mediums were only 3 laps old, he decided to lose track position to get 3 lap fresher mediums. And he hasn't only lost track position to Samuel Beach, he's also lost it to literally Siggins. I'm not sure if that was the right strategy call there. Is he going to lose position to Zamos? No, he's going to get out just ahead of Zamos, who I think might actually be disconnected. Let's see here. Yeah, it actually looks like Zamos has disconnected from the race. So you can never tell how many drivers are actually in the race, because a lot of the back markers tend to just leave the race once they feel like they've had enough, and it looks like Zamos is one of those drivers, even though he was in the points, as there's only 11 drivers in this race. Most drivers, apart from Zayek, are in the points, and I'm not sure, but I think Zayek might actually be lapped, and yes he is, but yeah, I think he's the only driver that's been lapped, so that's a shame to see. But he's going to continue on in this race, and we're going to move, and we're going to see what the drivers have gone for. Elian Ryan has gone for the soft compound tires in this race, and I assume that he thinks, well, this safety car is going to save him on tyre wear. But towards the end of this Grand Prix, he is going to have no tyres left, and I guess the only way this could really work out is if he breaks the DRS nice and early on. Because if he breaks that DRS nice and early on, he will be able to maintain a decent gap to Chronic behind him. And when it comes to the stage of the race where Elian's tyres have completely dropped off, maybe Chronic won't be able to make up the gap. So we'll have to see if that's what he does, because there's 3 laps after the safety car with no DRS. So that will be his chance to break the DRS. But Chronic is going to be pushing nice and hard with the DRS to maintain that 1 second gap. So we'll have to see. Samuel Beach now moves up onto the podium position of P3 with literally Siggins right behind him. He's done quite nicely in this race. He started from P8, if I'm not mistaken, and has now moved up to P4 in this race. So that's quite a nice camera shot. I'd like to just really embrace the camera shots and just appreciate them, you know, and that's a nice camera shot. But anywho, we have literally Siggins in P4, Paco in P5, Imposter in P6 on fresh mediums, along with Paco. Decided to go with fresh mediums. I'm not sure if that was the right choice, because I don't think the tire wear was high enough for that to make a big difference. Samos was disconnected. H, who was catching up to the safety car, he is on pretty fresh mediums and has actually got a penalty. Let's see how big a penalty that actually is. He's got a 5-second penalty. I'm not sure what that's for. Could possibly be for speeding in the pit lane. That's most likely. But yeah, it looks like H really struggling in his first race in this league. But who knows, maybe he'll have a great recovery on this safety car restart, as I think the safety car is going to stay out for one more lap as it waits for Tekas to catch up. And Tekas has shown that he obviously has great pace, but like I said before, he really struggles with that consistency of keeping it on the track and not spinning for the entire race. As it actually looks like Zayek DNF'd. I didn't even notice that. It looked like Zayek has actually DNF'd under the safety car. He's pulled the Grosjean and he's left the session. So that's interesting to see. So there's only 10 runners left in this race. So as long as you finish this race, you will get a point. And that's definitely important for most of the guys who don't usually do too well. But we've really been struggling with actually having enough drivers. We have a lot of free full-time seats available, and the reserves have to do a race to prove that they're clean before they can actually get a full-time seat. So that's probably the main reason why we don't have enough full-time drivers. So if you are interested in trying to get a full-time seat in this league, be sure to go down to the description and press the link for our Discord server where you can sign up to be a reserve and hopefully become a full-time. And who knows, maybe you'll be in this race and on this stream, and maybe you'll be battling it out with Chronic and Eddie. And that actually looks like, has Imposter lost his wing there? I'm not sure what's happened. Someone's lost one of their front end plates. I think it was one of the Ferraris. It was Paco. Paco has lost his front end plate on his front wing. I'm not sure what's happened there, as a lot of confusion for me. Usually when there's an incident under the safety car, I'm not sure what's happened, because I don't really know how they could have possibly crashed under the safety car. But the safety car is now in this lap, and Paco has to box for a new front wing. No, he doesn't, because he has both of his end plates. It looks like a bit of damage on his right end plate, but someone's lost their front wing, and I'm not sure who it is. I'm scouting out everyone's front wing. It's not Imposter, it's not Zamos. Is it H? I can't see, the camera's a bit too far away coming into this turn. It looks like he has his front wing, and it looks like Cyborg is the person who's lost their front wing. So I'm not sure what's happened there, but he is going to have to come into the pit lane to repair his front wing, as we're getting ready to get back underway, as Elian hasn't gone back underway yet. He's really just trying to catch them off guard, and it looks like he's going to do it. So there we go. We have Elian, who gets a pretty decent restart, but no, he doesn't, because Crawley gets an even better one coming into turn 1. Is he going to go around the outside of Elian? No, he's not. He's going to have to back out of that move. He's not close enough, as it looks like Imposter has actually cut the track there. I'm not sure what's happened, and it looks like Imposter dropped down a few positions as he completely cut the corner. Must have missed his braking point, and Paco is in P5, Imposter up to P4. I'm not sure what's happening at all, and it looks like Elian has maintained the lead of the race. Chronic in P2. Samuel Beach is still in P3. Imposter is now in P4 with a penalty though. Literally Siggins has fallen down to P5. I'm not sure who's got wing damage or what's happened at all. Tekas has moved all the way from P10 to P6. Paco has fallen down to P7. H in P8. Samos and Cyborg in P10. He's obviously really struggling because he's had to box for a new front wing. So a lot of chaos on that first lap. Got a little bit distracted and wasn't sure what was going on. But it looks like Chronic and Elian have already broken the DRS to Samuel Beach behind Imposter in P4, literally Siggins in P5, and that's a lot of position changes. It looks like Tekas is actually going for the move on literally Siggins now into turn 1. It looks like he's actually going to get the job done before the breaking point. So Tekas now up into P5, and this could be the first race where he actually gets a pretty good result, as he's really been struggling in this league. So P5 now, and that's a lot of points on the table, 10 points if I'm not mistaken. So Elian is just trying to break the DRS, as it actually looks like Paco is trying to go around the outside of literally Siggins into turn 5. Can he make the move stick? And it actually looks like he's gone a bit wide off at the exit, and that's given him a 3-second time penalty, trying to go side by side into turn 7 or 8, I'm not sure anymore, as it looks like he's right on the back of literally Siggins, but that 3-second time penalty is going to heavily compromise his race, and I'm really not sure what happened there on the restart. Literally Siggins is down into P6. Tekas is probably the person who's benefited the most, and so is Imposter, but the only problem with Imposter, he's got a 10-second time penalty. I don't know how he's managed to get a 10-second time penalty in the space of a safety car restart, but he has, and that is going to demote him all the way down to P8. So Imposter not looking too good in this race. Elian has almost broken the DRS to Chronic behind. I don't think DRS has yet been enabled, so he's still got a chance to break that DRS. He's on the teetering edge. 9/10 is the gap. It actually looks like Imposter and Samuel Beach go side by side. Imposter is going to overtake Samuel Beach to get a position on the podium, but with that penalty it's going to demote him off of the podium, so Samuel Beach is still technically on the podium. The DRS has now been enabled, and Chronic has been able to stay within the DRS of Elian ahead of him, so that's really going to help him out in this race, as it actually looks like the gap is now out over 1 second. So Chronic has lost the DRS. He's going to need a good second and third sector here to regain the DRS of Elian ahead of him. So let's see if he can manage that. So coming into this third sector, we're going to ride on board with Chronic here. Let's see what kind of third sector he can get coming into these final 3 turns. As actually looks like there's a yellow flag. It looks like Cyborg has run in the background. Chronic, the gap is 1.3 seconds into the second last turn. Can he get a good exit coming off of here? It looks like a pretty good turn from him, but that's not enough because the grip of Elian's soft compound tyres has really helped him, but his tyres are really going to struggle towards the end of the Grand Prix, so he needs to make this gap, and he needs to make it now. Imposter is 3 seconds behind Chronic, and with that 10-second time penalty, he's struggling quite a bit. And it looks like Samuel Beach is actually going to go around the outside into turn 1, and Imposter is going to try and fight this back, and it looks like Samuel Beach was pretty much on the curb there completely, even though there isn't a curb. He tried to leave as much space, but it looks like it's just a difficult corner to go side by side, and for the second time this race, and now the third, Imposter has spun, and now he has completely broken his wing, and it looks like he might retire from the session now. So that's a shame to see from Imposter. That's not the best first race for him, but we're going to move back to the battle at the front. Tekas now up into P4 in this race after spinning, so he's having a pretty decent race this race, and he could be challenging for his first podium in this league, and let's see if he can do it up against his teammate Samuel Beach, as Paco's down in P5 with a 3-second time penalty, if I'm not mistaken. So Paco really struggled on that safety car restart but Samuel Beach is under a bit of pressure from Tekas behind now, who has the DRS, and as it actually looks like Richie Stiggins is boxing for a new set of tyres, which is interesting to see at this stage of the Grand Prix. We'll have to see. He goes on to soft, so I'm not sure what the thought process was there, but he's gone on to soft tyres, and that's definitely interesting to see from Richie Stiggins. But Tekas now getting right on all over the back of Samuel Beach. He goes a bit deep into turn 5 there, as he's getting very, very close to the back of Samuel Beach, and he could be looking for a move into the next DRS straight on the very next lap. We'll have to see though. So it looks like these two guys are the only two people in the DRS, as Paco has actually now caught up to these two guys, and he's trying to make a bit of a recovery, I guess, in this race after having such a bad restart. Although it's not much of a recovery, because he's been in the top 5 for this entire race, if I'm not mistaken. Although I'm pretty sure he lost a few positions off the start, as Imposter pulls into the pit lane and retires from the session. But Paco is now right behind Tekas, who is right behind Samuel Beach, so Paco could be putting a bit of pressure under Tekas, which could force Tekas into a move on Samuel Beach here. We'll have to see, as it looks like Tekas has the DRS wide open, and let's see, into turn 1. No one's close enough to really go for a move just yet. But remember, Paco boxed and lost so much track position, which I don't think was the right choice at all, as Tekas gets very close to the back of Samuel Beach there. But yeah, I don't think that was the right choice. But I guess now he does have fresher tyres than the guys ahead of him, and that will definitely help him out. But was it worth it for the track position that he lost? We'll have to see if it works out for him, if he can get a podium in this race. So this 3-man DRS train is the only DRS train on track, and the only 3 people that are actually in DRS with each other on track. So this is the battle we will be focusing on, and it's now lap 24. This race is absolutely flown by. Flown? I'm not too sure. But yeah, it's going very fast, and Samuel Beach is looking to get a podium in this race, which would really help him out in the championship battle. Tekas looking for his first podium, Paco looking to compete for the championship, Chronic looking to take the championship lead, as literally Stiggins is not having the best of days, and Elian looking in his debut race to win the Grand Prix. And it seems to be a bit of a recurring theme in this league that on a debut race the drivers tend to win. That happened with Paco as well, and another driver if I'm not mistaken. But in this race right now, it looks like Paco getting very close to the back of Tekas, which has made Tekas get very close to the back of Samuel Beach. So coming into turn 5, let's see what happens. Paco has a half-hearted look into turn 5, kind of backs out of it, but then goes back into it, and that's just compromised Tekas's line a bit, because I think Tekas actually decided to leave him the room, even though Paco didn't really go for the move there. It was a bit, half-hearted, wasn't fully committed, I guess you could say. So, yeah, that's a bit interesting. You can see he's getting very close, so he wants to make the move, but really doesn't know if he wants to save the ERS or if he wants to make the move and get into the second position in this DRS train. But now Samuel Beach has actually gotten a 3-second time penalty, so Tekas right now where he is on the podium and could be the first podium this season. So even if Paco overtakes him, he'll still be on the podium. So Tekas is in a great position in this race, and I think he could really use the boost in confidence after the really unlucky races that he's had. So in P4 now, and currently on the podium after penalties have been applied. He doesn't have to be too aggressive, as as it looks like with Samuel Beach's penalty, he doesn't have to be too aggressive, but he's still going to be quite aggressive there as he tries to make a move on Samuel Beach on the exit of turn 5, which is an interesting place to start going for a move. But yeah, Tekas on the podium, and this could be a big boost of confidence and maybe the start of the championship campaign. But this late on in the season, I don't think it's going to happen. And with people like Elian, he could definitely be a championship contender but the fact that he's joined so late in the season, I don't think he will be a factor. But he's definitely going to be pushing for the Haas team, which are in contention for the Constructors' Championship. So he'll definitely be helping Dexy push for that championship and the title of Constructors' Championship. So I think that's the main championship he'll be focusing on. And then, who knows, possibly next season, he'll be looking for the Drivers' Championship. But now Tekas looks like he's going to go for the move on Samuel Beach into turn 1. And Samuel Beach isn't going to fight it too hard. Into turn 3, does anyone go for late lunch? No, they do not. But Paco is now very close to the back of Samuel Beach. And Tekas is now leading this 3-man DRS train. So, with Tekas in the lead, it doesn't look like anyone is going to make a move into turn 5. And once again, it looks like Paco makes a bit of a half-high move, or maybe it's just the line that he takes through there. But he gets quite a nice exit and was looking like he could have possibly overtaken Samuel Beach, but it would have been very difficult being behind on the exit of turn 5. And I've never seen a driver do that, where they actually overtake on the exit instead of the entry. So Samuel Beach is really struggling for pace. It looks like Tekas has amazing pace compared to Samuel Beach, who's clearly been struggling all race, but you just haven't noticed it because he's been in the DRS train. But Samuel Beach is now outside of the DRS of Tekas, and that's really bad for him, because now he has no chance of beating Tekas in this race. But I guess with that 3-second time penalty, it didn't matter. But now he's going to be battling for track position with Paco, because whoever has a track position actually gets the position, because they both have the same amount of time penalties. So releasing that DRS to Tekas is really going to hurt his race and put him under a lot of pressure from Paco behind. So let's see what Paco can do coming off of turn 4 and into this next DRS straight. Looks like Paco actually really struggled off of the exit there. I'm not sure what happened. He got the DRS, so he's not going to lose too much time, but he lost a decent amount of time on Samuel Beach coming off of that turn 3 exit and coming into turn 4. But it looks like he's on the very edge of that DRS. He really needs to push hard for the rest of this lap to catch up to the DRS of Samuel Beach and possibly compete for P4 in this race, and maybe even catch back up to the DRS of Tekas. But it looks like a lot of the drivers really struggling for pace here, and you can see that because Paco and Samuel Beach are two championship contenders that have usually been out the front of the grid and not really too separated from the top guys. But it looks like these guys do not enjoy this track, whereas Tekas, Chronic and Elian, it looks like they're doing great at this track, especially Chronic and Tekas. Elian obviously had great pace on the mediums as well, so yeah, Elian as well, and he's on those softs. He's maintaining a 4-second gap. His tires are now 12 lap old, and I think this is the point where the mediums are a lot faster, because most drivers only took the softs 11 laps. So for Elian to be taking them 4 more laps as well, he's going to be on 16 lap old softs by the end. But Chronic doesn't seem to be closing the gap here, so that's very interesting to see that Elian has been able to hold so much pace on Chronic on these old soft compound tires, and he could be looking quite good for the win here. So maybe the strategy was a lot better than I thought. I personally would have gone onto the hards, but the softs clearly seem to be working a lot better. And coming off of that uphill right-hander turn, Paco seems to be struggling quite a bit for the traction, and actually gets a bit of wheel spin out of there, which is going to hurt his exit. And he's actually lost the DRS to Samuel Beach, and it does not look like he's going to be getting it for this next straight. So it looks like the drivers are all officially separated, and I don't think much is going to be happening for this last 4 laps, unless something happens, someone spins, or someone just suddenly gains a lot of pace and catches up to someone. There's only 9 runners left in this race, so every single person is going to be getting a point, apart from Samuel, who is disconnected from the session, which means he won't be getting any points. But even people like Cyborg, who have stuck it out this race, he's spun so many times to count, not to be mean, but and he's now a lap down. But even so, he is in P9, and he is going to get points in this race and for his team of Alpine. So we're looking quite good at the start of the season, when myself and my friend Dylan Rory were racing for Alpine, but after I started commentating and my friend left, they didn't have any drivers, and they've been looking for drivers for a long time, and they finally found Cyborg, who is getting some points. Obviously, he's about to get 2 points in this race, so long as he can keep it on track for the next 3 laps. So Chronic has not brought down the gap. The gap is still 4 seconds to Elian ahead. So Elian has obviously played this perfectly, and he's backed it up with his amazing pace. And even on 13 lap old softs, which should be so much slower than the mediums, he is still in the lead of this race and actually pulling away. The gap is 4 seconds on the start of lap 31. We'll have to see what it is at the end, but it looks like Paco has actually caught up to the DRS of Samuel Beach ahead. So the battle for P4 is still on between Samuel Beach and Paco, who are both championship contenders and could use these valuable points. It's a 2-point difference between P4 and P5, the difference between 12 and 10 points. Samuel Beach really needs it. Paco really needs it. They're both quite a bit off of the lead of literally Siggins, if I'm not mistaken. Samuel Beach on 69 points, Paco on 68. So when they're 21 and 22 points behind, they need every point they can get on literally Siggins, who has had an absolute mare of a race, and using a bit of a weird strategy, actually boxed for a soft 7 laps ago. I'm not too sure why, but yeah, that's demoted him down to P8, and he's only going to be getting 4 points this race. Well, actually, he'll be getting 6 points in this race, as Samos will be disqualified for actually disconnecting from the race. So, Literally Siggins is only going to get 6 points compared to Chronic, who is going to, right now, he's going to get 18 points for a P2, as he's brought the gap down by 2/10, and that is not enough to catch Elian by the end. So there's only 2 laps left as we enter the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, and I don't think Chronic has the pace to catch up to Elian. I don't think Techas has the pace to catch up to Chronic. I don't think Samuel Beach can catch up to Techas, but Paco to Samuel Beach is a different story. He's got 2 laps left to chase down Samuel Beach, as he has a bit of an interesting line through turn 3 and 4, as he doesn't use the full width of the track coming into turn 4 on the entry of turn 4, and doesn't use the curb either, although I can see why, because that is quite a spinny curb sometimes. So literally Siggins has actually boxed again and might be going for the fastest lap of the Grand Prix here, and he might be able to get an extra championship point, which would definitely help him. But as things stand, he won't lose the championship lead to Chronic, since Chronic is 15 points behind, but he's definitely going to lose a lot to literally Siggins. So yeah, that's definitely going to hurt him in the championship. But we have 1 more lap to go now as we round out the last 2 corners of the penultimate lap, and we're about to enter the last lap of the Grand Prix. This is going to be Paco's last chance to overtake Samuel Beach. Paco on 15% ERS. Samuel Beach also on 15% ERS. He's using all the ERS here. He's set to purple sector 3. That's Paco into turn 1. He's going to go down the inside into turn 1, and Samuel Beach is going to try hold it around the outside of Paco. Is he going to go down the inside into turn 3? No, he's not. He's going to use the DRS coming out of this turn 4. Paco doesn't get an amazing exit. Samuel Beach using the ERS and the DRS. He's not close enough to go for a late dive into turn 5, so he's really going to have to do something amazing in this second and third sector, as it looks like Techas has actually made a mistake somewhere in his lap, and that has allowed Paco to actually catch up. Does Techas have wing damage at this stage of the Grand Prix? Has he hit a wall somewhere? And it does not look like it. It looks like he's just really struggling for some reason as he goes side by side with Paco, and this is for the podium in this Portuguese Grand Prix. Samuel Beach is right behind Techas. Techas tries to go down the inside of Paco, and he has thrown away his race on the last lap of the Grand Prix. He's made a mistake, and then he's gone for a late lunge on Paco, even though Paco had a 3-second time penalty, and Techas has no penalty. So not the best decision making there from Techas, and that is going to lose him his first podium in this league. And yeah, I think that was just really bad from Techas there, as I'm not sure, has he lost fuel? Has he run out of fuel at this stage of the Grand Prix? I can't tell, but he's going very, very slowly. I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe he disconnected. I really don't know. That's really interesting to see. He could have lost fuel. Maybe he underfueled the car too much, but with a safety car, I don't think he would have ran out of fuel at all. So I really don't know what's gone on with Tegas. I don't know if that's a technical problem or what's happened. But yeah, he's lost out on his first podium in ERA, and I'm sure he's going to be absolutely gutted with that. He comes home in P7. Literally Siggins manages to steal the fastest after the Grand Prix, which is going to give him an extra championship point, along with the 6 points that he's going to get from being promoted to P7 after Samos is disqualified. So Elian, actually, I don't know why I wasn't focusing on this. I guess I was so confused with Tegas, I got so caught up in it. Elian has won his debut Grand Prix in ERA and is the second person to win their debut in ERA, and that is going to give him a crisp 25 championship points and a couple of bragging rights between the drivers, as he's obviously shown his pace, and this is a championship winning driver, and I'm really happy that we could get him in the league, and he's showing what he's made of. Even though the ice said the safety car ruined his race, it looks like even with that safety car, which he probably could have done without, he's managed to win this race by a decent 3.5 second gap, if I'm not mistaken. So there you go, Elian's debut race. He wins the Grand Prix and really just shows everyone what he's made of. A 2.3 second gap, so you can see it was 4 seconds on the start of lap 31, but he really started to lose pace on his warm softs, but was able to maintain the lead. So Elian is going to take home P1. Chronic takes home P2, which helps him massively in the Drivers' Championship, and that is going to put him very close to the back of literally Siggins. Less than 5 points are going to be separating them. Paco takes home a podium. That's going to help him out in the championship standings compared to literally Siggins. Samuel Beach takes home P4. He definitely could have gotten that podium there, as he was battling nice and hard with Paco. And P4, he hasn't gotten a podium in a while, and he's been struggling to pick up big points. But P4 is definitely still a good result when your championship leader only came home in P8. One of the reserves in this race, H, actually comes home in P5, so it looked like it was going to be a bad race from him, but it turned out to be a pretty decent race there, and I didn't actually see the rest of the grid. I think in P7, I want to say. In P6 was Samos, who's going to be disqualified for disconnecting. So P6 is going to be gifted to Tekas, who lost the podium on the last lap of the Grand Prix, which is absolutely devastating to see. Literally Siggins takes on P7, which is really going to hurt him in the championship. P9 goes to Cyborg, and then 3 drivers DNF'd, being Imposter, and I'm not sure who else, but that was definitely maybe not the most exciting race. We only have 12 drivers. We're still looking for full-time drivers, so if you're a driver in this league, be sure to share the link with any fast-clean drivers you may know. And if you're watching this from another league and you aren't actually from ERA, well, I don't know how you got this. I don't know how you found this stream, but welcome. And also, the Discord link to our server is in the description below, if I'm not mistaken. So be sure to give it a join and maybe race with these guys, with people like Elian Bine, literally Siggins, Samuel Beach, Paco, and Chronic. We definitely have a lot of fast drivers in this league. But that is going to be round 7 of Portugal. I hope you did enjoy, and I'll be sure to see you all next week for round 8. And next round is going to be a sprint race at Austria, and that's definitely going to be an interesting one, because Austria, with 3 DRS straights in a row, you can be sure there's going to be a lot of overtaking, and with a sprint race, there's going to be even more. So be sure to be here next week for that one, and I hope you enjoyed the stream and the commenting. Goodbye.